its shareholder, or its affiliates. The opinions of the on-air guests or participants are based upon information they consider reliable, but neither ZBC nor its shareholder nor its affiliates warrant their completeness or accuracy, and they should not be relied upon as such.
Whatever my mind can see, that I will achieve. Because I do the things I should, between my brethren, kind and good. So I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow.
Oh yes, my Stray Dog family, we're not gonna stop until we reach the top. It's my turn to say good night to you, St. Kitts and Nevis, and to the entire Caribbean region. I hail those in the Kittitian and Liburd diaspora who are on the World Wide Web. Some of you I know are in Africa. Some of you are in Asia. There are a whole lot of you all over Europe, and don't you doubt it, there are many of you right here in North America. So I am at liberty to say good night. I can't say good morning, and I will say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves, perhaps just enjoying life, we hope. In these difficult times, we do wonder, my Stray Dog family, what's next? But put your trust in Almighty God, and He will see us through. My Stray Dog family, if you are joining me for the first time in particular, I want to inform you that Stray Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Stray Talk, we do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's just, in the process, continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try as well to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation and yet another occasion. As Stray Dog family, I heard of the passing of this officer, but I just can't remember his name. He used to work with the Governor General for many years. How could I forget his name? But in the event you know who I'm speaking about, I want to extend condolences to his family, entire family, and for all those who have lost loved ones. As part of the program, we also provide our weekly month, or rather our COVID-19 situation update each time we come here, and we bring you the information as we get it. And as of today, Thursday, the 3rd of March at 6 p.m., there was just one confirmed case. One confirmed case, and that's good news, my straight dog family. I always look at the vaccination roll up and roll out rate. That is going good. I wish it can go a little faster. But let's be satisfied, because we are one of the fewest countries in the Eastern Caribbean with such high rate. 82.6% of the targeted population has already received their first dose of the COVID vaccine, and 77.4% have received their second dose. So total number of doses administered to date, 57,622 doses. And the total fully vaccinated, inclusive of children, it's 26,375,000. So we are doing well, and we ought to be satisfied and congratulate those who have taken their dose of the vaccine, I should say. And we do hope that you will encourage others as well. My straight dog family, we normally have what we call as well our observations in review as part of the program. It's a juncture in the program when we make observations, and it's a moment, it's a time when we do some reflection and try to establish what was accomplished and how it has helped us, or helped others, I should say, and what has changed since then, what can be expected, and what new have we learned as a people. And our first observation in review focuses or highlights places, or highlights, I should say, or places the focus, let me get it right, on the Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program in St. Kitts and Nevis. And for those who may not be aware, it is a program that has targeted or continues to target what I believe is called the at-risk youth in our country. Straight Talk shared an update on the success to date on the said program, and some time before we had a Major General Saunders, I'm losing track of these days, what's happening to me tonight. Major General Saunders guest on Straight Talk several times, and he gave us a background on the program, told us about the program, but I've learned that there is a coordinator of the program now in the person of Major Coyote Sutton, my good friend Major Sutton. Wow, he's now Major. And Major Sutton, my neighbor, well, once a neighbor, always a neighbor. And Major Sutton gave us, or gave the nation, an update from his vantage point as coordinator as it relates to the success of this program. Here's what he said.
Knowing the interactions and the dealings I've had with the at-risk individuals in our community, the gangs, and all that, we work closely with the police force. And over the years, I was like, wow, this is an opportunity where there isn't, it provides a platform for opportunity to do something different. And if we don't take it, then we're going to have to deal with bodies on the street. And I've had many years of that, And, in discussions with some of the participants, I tell them, I say, the victims, it's not just the victim, the dead person, or the families that are just the victims. We are victims as well, because there are some instances that you look back on and you remember what really happened, and those memories come back and they haunt us. So I got to say, yes, the program has been successful, in my opinion. We live in a tranquil environment.
Yes, we do now live in a peaceful environment, we have to hasten to add. Head of the forensic unit or lab, Latoya Lake Marshall, also provided an update on the success of her department in respect of crime detention within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And here's what Mrs. Marshall had to say.
Now, our major successes, based on the statistics, we have solved quite a bit of murders from in 2018 to present via ballistics links as from our lab. We, as I mentioned, our comparison microscope led by our ballistics examiner. So we've had major links in cases via ballistics. Rape. I am very passionate as a woman about sexual offense cases. And I have had serious experiences in Antigua where we were facing an issue of serial rapists, and I sat on panels where we were fighting to target rape, date rape, etc. So when I came to the Federation, I hit the ground running. And we linked quite a bit of sexual offense cases to perpetrators. As I mentioned, there was one perpetrator that was linked to actually 6 scenes, and that included rape, robbery from the person, and this is one person that was involved in all these sexual offenses.
One person involved in all those sexual offenses, but you understand the success as it relates to crime back then. And Prime Minister Harris also commented on where we came from regarding crime in St. Kitts and what had to be done. As we've come a long way, we must admit, my straight up family.
We reversed what was because we also found that there was an insufficiency of finance being accorded to law enforcement having regard to where we were. When I took over as Minister of National Security, we had, for example, dilapidation everywhere. I usually give the example of what to me typified the mindset of the administration then. Within 2 minutes walk from the residence of the then Prime Minister of the country was the St. Paul's police station. It was one of the worst police stations in St. Kitts and Nevis and perhaps in the world. If you touch a switch, you got shot. If water, rain came, no police officer was safe. And when you imagine that that could happen in the backyard, so to speak, of a sitting prime minister who held responsibility for national security for the longest period of time, then you could understand why other things would happen.
And we've also had testimony from someone who, as he put it, as a young boy, he came up in the police station. Guess he was a young bad boy.
My name is Sir Dr. Elvis Mills. I am happy for this program because I worked with the police from 1978 as a little bad boy. But the main reason for me to call in is that from 1980 to now, I never see no government or no leader of national security put so much resources into the police force. Now, Sandy Point Police Station since 1979, when you walk, they have to put panel board under the flooring from Mr. Benjamin as the magistrate from dusk down in his face. And up to 20 years with the former government, no police station consider start, build, and I give the Prime Minister a special congratulations for one term to put down such a state-of-the-art building over the top of Sandy Point there. I drive down there from the time the digging starts. When I'm doing tours, I drive to the guests. I just hard to believe that within one term, a Prime Minister, a Minister of National Security, put down a building in Sandy Point, the courthouse, custom, fire, and still police.
Yes, in one term. And you mentioned the police station. That individual, Dr. Elvis, mentioned the police station in Sandy Point back then from 1979. Could you imagine? From 1979 until 2021. What's that? 42 years. Government rented a property to house a police station. Probably paid that mortgage 20 times by straight dog family. But that's the situation you had in St. Kitts in particular. By straight dog family, things have changed under the Team Unity administration. The second observation in review I want to raise relates to the confrontation between a member of cabinet and the police. And this too was addressed on the Prime Minister's Leadership Matters program. And in response to a caller who raised the question about equal rights and justice, Prime Minister Harris, who is also the Minister of National Security, gave this update to the nation.
We all are concerned that justice is seen to be done always and will be done. The good governance agenda has been a critical part of what distinguishes the Team Unity administration. To get to justice, though, a process has to be transparently be undergone. And that process is in fact in place, and so he should wait and not prejudge the outcome. The Commissioner of Police, to his credit, has said that he has completed his investigation, and we wait to see the next phase with that matter. At the last press conference, Mr. Grant did say that it is a live matter, so the matter has not yet reached its finality, and let's wait and let the process take its course. I have full confidence in the ability and the competence of the police force in general and in the leadership of Commissioner Brandy, and I have full confidence in our judicial system. So there is no need for concern and for premature judgment on a matter that is live.
The matter is live. And in St. Kitts, there's something called due process, just like elsewhere in the world. The final observation in review tonight, my stray dog family, relates to the invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces last week, Thursday, at 5 a.m. Ukraine time. And most of us were fast asleep in the Caribbean, in North America, and elsewhere. The United Nations Security Council went into emergency session later that day. And by Friday, last week Friday, the UN Security Council resolution demanding that Moscow immediately stop its attack on Ukraine and withdraw all troops was vetoed by Russia. This veto was inevitable or expected. but the intention of one of the permanent members, to wit, the United States of America and its supporters, was to highlight and ensure the global isolation of Russia. Of the 15-member Security Council, the vote was 11 in favor, with Russia voting no, China, India, and the United Arab Emirates abstaining. 81 member countries co-sponsored that particular resolution. The Security Council resolution would have been legally binding, but it was not to be. However, the General Assembly resolutions are not legally binding, but serve as a reflection of world opinion. It did not stop there, however, because the Security Council met on Sunday, the 27th of February, last Sunday, in emergency session, and approved Resolution 2623 of 2022, calling for an emergency special session of the General Assembly to examine the question in its document Agenda 8979. By notice from the President of the General Assembly, Sunday evening, late Sunday evening, the said session was convened at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, Monday the 28th, last Monday of February. The United Nations General Assembly overwhelmingly adopted the resolution on Wednesday, just yesterday, that demanded that Russia immediately end its military operations in Ukraine. A total of 141 countries voted in favor of the resolution, including St. Kitts and Nevis. And this resolution reaffirms the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Ukraine. It was co-sponsored as well by over 90 countries, inclusive of St. Kitts and Nevis, whereas over 180 countries made statements, but St. Kitts and Nevis, on our mission, was instructed not to speak. Someone sent me, however, a Facebook post from one Larry Odenville Vaughan, which reads like this, and I quote my Straight Dog family from this particular Facebook post by Larry Odenville Vaughan of Keys Village in St. Kitts. And that post reads, and I quote, "In a game of ass and elbow, patch-mouth patches really went go vote in a you and me name in a matter which part we does abstain every time." That's the post coming from Larry. But suffice to say, my Straight Up family, Larry Odenville Vaughan is my blood relative. And I want to, or I should say for full disclosure, Larry is my blood family. So I will be ultra cautious how I deal with him publicly, although he does not of late offer me a similar courtesy. But I have advised Larry in the past, but he never took heed. I advised him to go and burn the midnight oil because he is highly intelligent, like most of our family. Suffice to say, my family, Larry should stick to the dying trade union, as his comments remind me of a teacher who in error circulated a 5th grade examination paper to her 1st grade students. And you can imagine the dilemma of all these 1st grade students. Or perhaps Larry should stick to his Gregorian chants, as you may be still a good a cappella singer. And I know the singing and the musical talent are in our family. Not really a cappella though. But the comments of the permanent representative of the United States of America to the United Nations are very instructive. And we should listen clearly, I should say, to these comments by Ambassador Linda Greenfield Thomas.
Now, at more than any other point in recent history, the United Nations is being challenged. If the United Nations has any purpose, it is to prevent war. It is to condemn war, to stop war. That is our job here today. It is the job you were sent here to do, not just by your capitals, but by all of humanity.
Yes, it's a job we all were sent to do right here at the United Nations. I can tell you, my Straight Talk family, it was an historic vote at the United Nations General Assembly. And yesterday, with great humility, I casted that vote on behalf of St. Kitts and Nevis in favor of Resolution A/ES/11/L that reprimanded Russia for invading Ukraine and demanded that it immediately withdrew its military forces. For me, our vote was one that endorses or upholds the purposes of the United Nations, which include, but are not limited to, the maintenance of peace and security throughout the world. To me, our vote was also to uphold the principles of the United Nations Charter that are based on the sovereign equality, political independence, and territorial integrity of all of its members. St. Kitts and Nevis also signed the UN Charter going on to 39 years ago after the Federation moved to independence. This is the first resolution of its kind passed in a rare emergency session called by the UN Security Council and supported by 141 of the 193 members of the United Nations. I also had the honor and privilege to sign, along with other members who supported the resolution, a copy of the United Nations Charter, which will be handed to the United Nations Secretary General, Mr. or His Excellency Antonio Guterres. It was an historic vote by the international community denouncing Russia for choosing confrontation instead of the path of diplomacy. As one member reminded us all that the UN was not established to send mankind to heaven, but rather to keep humanity from hell. Very interesting perspective. And the UN Secretary General had these words as well.
Mr. President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, the fighting in Ukraine must stop. It's raging across the country from air, land and sea. In the face of the continuing attacks, Kiev's 3 million residents are being forced to seek safety in their homes, improvised bomb shelters and the city's subways. According to UNHCR, 500,000 Ukrainians have fled across the country's borders. Although Russian strikes are reportedly largely targeting Ukrainian military facilities, we have credible accounts of residential buildings, critical civilian infrastructure, and other non-military targets sustaining heavy damage. This escalating violence, which is resulting in civilian deaths, including children, is totally unacceptable. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
The General Assembly
Guterres
has spoken.
also asks for respect for the United Nations Charter.
As Secretary General, it is my duty to stand by this resolution and be guided by its call. The message of the General Assembly is loud and clear. End hostilities in Ukraine now. Silence the guns now. Open the door to dialogue and diplomacy now. The territorial integrity and sovereignty of Ukraine must be respected in line with the UN Charter. We don't have a moment to lose.
Don't have a moment to lose. My Stray Dog family, that's in a nutshell what happened in or at the United Nations General Assembly yesterday. It was an historic vote yesterday calling on Russia to respect the sovereignty and territorial integrity of its neighbor. Finally, my Stray Dog family, just to ask you a question, and it is a substantive issue as well, I must raise tonight. It's about the construction of the Bastille High School. For some time now, I have been trying to establish what is causing the hold-up in the construction of the school. I am interested. I'm interested because a lot of persons, in particular parents, are asking me these questions. As far as I know, the environmental impact assessment is complete. The planning permission is already granted, and the finance, the money, is already allocated to the appropriate ministry. And I always like to be frank, blunt, and upfront. And I will say tonight, it pains me because back in 2016 or 2017, but for the interference of the Ministry of Education, as Minister of Public Infrastructure, I would have ensured that the construction of the Bastille High School would have been completed before the end of our first term in office. All I have learned about this project lately is that the Ministry of Public Infrastructure is now leading the construction of this school, which is what the cabinet decided years ago. I am concerned because a lot of students from East Bastille attend the Bastille High School. And it is not fair that the population of students would have completed their education in a temporary school environment. Why was the project manager and former director of Public Works removed? Can anyone guess? Who knows that answer? I have been trying to get it myself. What is happening to the construction of the Bastille High School? A lot of people are asking me, and I have asked privately, but to no avail. So I am asking public tonight on behalf of all those who continue to ask the question. Getting mad with me won't bury the issue, because I have learned that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in a period of moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. One of my friends would put it, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in a period of national crisis, maintain their neutrality. And those are the words from a Dante Alighieri, a poem. There have been different variations by John Kennedy, by Reverend John A. Hutton, and Theodore Roosevelt. Even Martin Luther King himself used a variation of the quote. And Martin Luther King said this, and I quote, "The hottest place in hell is reserved for those who remain neutral in times of great moral conflict." King added, "He who passively accepts evil is as much involved in it as he who helps to perpetrate it. He who accepts evil without protesting against it is really cooperating with it." In 1913, the religious writer, the Reverend John A. Hutton, I wonder if he was Methodist. I didn't get time to research that. But he presented his analysis of Dante's poem. Hutton described the destiny of individuals who were unwilling to choose between good and evil. Interestingly, they were not actually placed in hell. In Dante's poem, Dante denies them the moral dignity, or rather in Dante's poem, I should say first, the neutrals, those who in this world had never taken a side, occupy the mouth and vestibule of hell. They pursue a blind, fatal way, a flag which never stays for a moment in one place. Have you ever seen a flag stay for a moment in one place? Dante denies them that the moral dignity of a place even in hell itself. He said, "Heaven will not have them, and the deep hell receives them not, lest the wicked there should have gone or should have some glory over them." And what was the sin of these neutrals? Oh, simply this: they had never taken a side. They had spent God's precious moment, which is our life. They had spent it watching which way the wind was likely to blow. Remember the great Napoleon? He asserted, and I quote, "The world suffer not by the violence of the bad people, but by the silence of the good people." The justification of faith is that it enables man to confront the facts of the universe, which tend to make him abject in his own eyes. Abject, extremely unhappy, extremely poor. And my Straight Dog family, we ask you the question, what is happening to the Bastille High School? And I ask the question against this backdrop, my Straight Dog family, because we seem to forget what challenges we have. I remember the teachers, I remember the students, and I remember this particular teacher.
You know, I honestly don't want to say too much, but I think this saga has been going on for long enough. I am happy that the ministry has come on board and is cleaning up the place to some degree, but it has a lot more to be done. And when you ask sometimes for time frames, we get them in the meeting, then you go back and then there's some hold up, of course. But people are getting sick. And I was called this morning by my colleagues because you can smell the rat thing. As soon as I hit here by the staff room door, and my tongue just feeling weird. It just feels funny. And you keep crying out, and it's like sometimes you just feel like you're fighting a losing battle, and maybe it is not a fight, they're going to say, but people's health are at risk.
Yes, those were the days back then. Where is the school? That's a question I'm asking. I'm asking as well tonight. I'm asking as well tonight about the other issues. I've raised some issues, and you may have your own issues to raise as well. I'm going to be a little flexible. Although my main issue I want to discuss is, tell me, what's the hold up with the school? It's 17 before the 9 o'clock hour. Straight Talk is a participative program. By that I mean we entertain your calls, we entertain your emails. And my Straight Talk family, I always like to implore you, nonetheless, when I open the lines, I anticipate that you will be fair or you will respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned, and let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things we say and or do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in saying and doing those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. You've heard the things I advance. Those are my words, and I am not going to change them. I'll go to the lines at 16 before the 9 o'clock hour. I'll take your calls, my Straight Talk family. The numbers are 465-2555 and or 718-577-2916. A Straight Talk email platform is accessible at zizstraighttalk@gmail.com. With that said, I go to the lines and I say, good night, caller, you are live. Yes, caller? Caller, you're live.
Yes, Mr. Patrice Liburd?
Yes, my dear.
Yes. Well, thank you for presenting those areas for discussion and for feedback. I just would like to focus on the Batsy High School because that's a very sad situation. I'm hearing myself repeat this. I hope I'm coming through clearly.
Yes, you're clear.
Yes. Even if the school were to be constructed today, it will take at least 2 years before, at least 2 years, I would think, before students can get into it. And in the meantime, at the Batsy High School, they have to be on the shift system and all the loss in education and demotivation. I heard the CMO a few weeks ago speak of that aspect, that their loss, even in terms of the school dropout, it has increased over the years because of that. Yet just down the road from where they are now in that temporary building up at Bladen, there is the East Park Range area. And that has been allowed to just deteriorate, separate and apart from the other side, the western side where the contamination apparently was. The East Park Range, nothing is done there. With all the technology and all the science that we have, no one has thought it fit to clean up that section. So much so that people are tearing off the galvanized off of those roofings, and so they're deteriorating further. Nobody has seen fit. So another at least 2 years for the children to be up at that site. But what is interesting is that you made mention of what happened before, which gave rise to the discussion about the contamination. The government of the day spent $7 million, cleaned up the place, brought in the CARFA and the NIOSH and all the different regional and also international agencies to assess. They came in and they said, good work has been done, just a few more areas. But when the administration changed, you abandoned everything, left it to deteriorate. There was no security. People came and they trashed the place, destroyed a lot of files, historical files for students and what have you. Nothing was done, and it has just been left like that. Is this good management? And in the meantime, because I attended the session about 2.5 years ago, when there was the session for the launch of the new Bastille High School that was held at Tucker Clark, and various things were said there. And what came out from the consultants and the experts was that it was going to cost maybe about 60 million plus. But in that amount, by the time they added in what would have had to be expended on the sewage treatment and all the other things to mitigate what negative effects there would be on the aquifer, it would come to about 100 million. But we have a war going on here in Europe and the effect on oil prices. So you can imagine by the time they start to build that place, it may be 150 million. You're going to have this fantastic school for the Bastille High School. But there's going to be a problem, because if all the other schools are nowhere near that level or standard, everybody's going to want their children to get into that school. So you have another problem there. And the question would be, why not expend that type of money on upgrading all the schools, bringing them up to a high standard, including the Bastille High School site that is being left there with all the technology we have now? Nobody is doing anything about that. Isn't that a waste? Thank you.
Thank you very much, caller. Very, very interesting perspective. I'm not certain where you got your estimated figures from, though, but I know that the figures inclusive of the sewage plant was $60 million. Yes, the overall costing was over $100 million, but that included a Monday track, indoor basketball auditorium and things like that. But the fact is, if the project is phased, then you won't have to spend all that money at the same time. That's what we did with the Island Main Road. We phased the project. So but again, I take your point. A very good observation nonetheless. I believe the CAFA report is never complete, was never final, and that even after that, students and teachers were having problems. But let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. Okay, we seem to have lost a caller. Let's take call you live.
Hi, good night, Patrice. How are you?
I am peaceful, sir.
Okay, very well. I want to concur with this previous caller, with her, what should I say, opinion on the way forward with the new Bastille High School. Of course, let me say, I am of the opinion, though, that the present administration could or should consider putting back the school where it was. I know back in the day, people like me and others who voiced our opinions and removing the school and placing it somewhere else. All right? But as far as I know, I had some conversations with someone in, Mr. Parry, I forget the division he is in, and they were considering putting certain developments in that area, which if it was contaminated, if that area of the Bastille High was contaminated so badly that the children and the school should not be there, then people like vendors and parking and so forth should not be there also, because the risk to one is the risk to all. And so, personally, my opinion now is that the school should be considered, because all this have a glue and so forth with this delay with this schooling, with how many years? 7 years going on 8 years. I personally believe that the Bastille High should go back right where it is and let the children have a proper and concise education. Thank you very much, Patrick, from East Bastia.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Good evening. Good evening, Dr. Ian Patrick Liburd.
Good evening, my brother.
Okay.
Culture.
All right, man. Glad to hear you.
You're good to hear as well.
Okay, thank you, brother.
How's the volcano?
Hey, yeah, man. Oh, the volcano is good, you know. Yeah, I got some ice. I got some ice down in it, keeping it cool. So don't worry.
You can't leave me.
No, I ain't gonna leave you, man. I will never leave you. You know why? A lot of reason. You are a straight shooter. You don't swag. And you tell it like you see it. And I like that. And when one speaks the truth, and anybody want to vex with a person, they're worse than the lie itself that they supporting and they condoning. Now, Patches, I totally agree with you. That school should have been built already and completed already. Because the old grammar school, the whole high school compound, the problem was not in the air. It come from the soil underneath there, down there where all the chemical and everything gone. And that they could come back up and then air surface. That shows that this is a dangerous place for people's health. And if the government has gone so far, nearly 8 years, so far, to have environment assessment and to know that, okay, the place is okay, and then the money has been allocated for that, what is the holding up? What happened? We don't have no back to dig foundation footing to start the building? No, we ain't want to be no government of talking, we're going to do this and we ain't do it. You see how quick the Sandy Point police station, the police station down there started and completed? The school should have been completed too. So I don't know what is the holding up on that. Now, Patrick, I want to say something too. There are certain other things in this country that I think should be put on a national inquiry, like the sugar factory assets. We would like to know what happened to them, how much money they were sold for. That is one. And we need to have an inquiry on the Gulf Coast down Love Valley. We want to know why the minister said he signed, but apparently he don't remember. So inquiry on that, we need that. He can't remember what happened down there when he signed couple months or a couple years ago. But he could remember to say this, that if Mr. Bradshaw was still in government like he was, Mr. Bradshaw will have do something with Honorable Lindsey Grant. He will have turned him away. But he could remember that. So we want inquiry and why he signed down Love Valley. Because I know for sure Mr. Bradshaw, who Mr. Bradshaw married to, the family level like Mr. Bradshaw because he used to be on the air publicly. Because he's a black man and they feel well then that he wasn't worthy of the family. And I was told that Mr. Bradshaw had to hide on the day of the wedding all the way over Bellevue. You see? And then he tell the other minister and then he tell, please do like me, go and married. Or whatnot. Well, enough for that. Now, we have some things here. We have a famous, popular Rastaman in St. Kitts. Well loved, friendly. We want investigation on why he had to dead and who killed him. That's three of them. And the other one, I'll leave that for me second do. But anyway, with the Ukraine and Russia business, I said it today and I always maintain that. I think NATO should just sweep out Putin, get him out of the way, because his intention is to see how many people in the world he could wipe out. And once you wipe out a certain amount of people in the world, then he take over. That is his aim. He's a Hitler and a Stalin. And I think the longer they wait to see what he gonna do, he's gonna be more detrimental to innocent people in Ukraine. Patrice, thank you very much. I'll come back. But let me tell you this. You got an individual who waited until the last 7 minutes to call in on the program, and his time taking up 3 other people's calls. So watch him. he's coming tonight. Thank you, Patrice.
Thank you very much. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live with consider those inquiries. And yes, the La Valley Golf Course is one of great interest. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Honorable Patrice Liburd. Now, I want to, the other night, I called in on the Prime Minister's show, and I forget two stalwart women, you know, Miss Unity, Mr. Unity, and Alice in Wonderland. And I will repeat the men them name. Mr. Culture, Mr. Manners, Mr. Politics, and one king, Cecil Rock. Now, Patrick, I have to thank Mr. Sutton and Miss the lady there for the oh Lord, Miss Marshall, for the opportunity they take into this country and consider it as their own, like they was born here. They work here and they live here and they put all their interest here. And I got to thank them very much for that. And I have to thank the Prime Minister to give them the opportunity and the best way to solve the problem what they are fighting with. You know, so I would like him to provide them with all the instruments that they need, like vehicles, money for informers, and different things like that. And this will make here a more safer place than what it is. And it's safe. It's the only who committing the crime talking about crime in this country. Now, Patrick, with the school up there, you know, I understand how you feel because it was in your constituency and you was the minister of that same building, them kind of thing. And you had the intention to go at the school right away, but you never get the opportunity. But what I am saying concerning that, if the money is then allocated and all of those kind of things, what they waiting for in truth? What they is waiting for? You know, they're going to wait till people fall out of school, get bitten by rats, whether be up there right now, and then no school. And I think, if I'm mistaken, I think when you was the man for the road and the all the public infrastructure, you the man who now got your job was the school man. So what is going on? What's really going on? What's really going on? That the school can be built. Why? Because it's in your town. And they're launching all kind of things up in your town to show good government and they care. Why the rest of them don't come out and talk about that? You know? They want to lead. They got the majority. Everybody wants to be prime minister, but nobody can say what they could do from what they can do. You understand me? But as I told the prime minister, stay where you is, hush your mouth. Don't mix up in the mud. When the bell ring, we come out of the mud and you come in. God bless you, Patrick. I'll be back later. Thank you.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. You know, some politicians seem to lose sight of who they are working for. And for this Facebook family member, Manny, writes that freedom is an expression used, but let the concerned citizens in New York and elsewhere have the right to phone in rather than individuals who consistently call in as they are more intellectually sound. But yes, there's a number, Manny, at 718-577-2916. That's the number, telephone number for those in the diaspora. There will be some changes and we'll get some other information for you as time progresses. Thank you for holding, caller. You're live.
Yes, good night, good night.
Good night, my dear.
Good night. We got to hold out a while because it's how things going, up in the Middle East. Nobody knows what's going to come true. We cannot hit the school here right now. And I think they should try and clean up the school, not do the school where contamination, we could kill it. The school is a good school. I think the school that gets some repair down in the 70s and the 80s already, So we used to look so. The school is a good design school. And they should always say their name the grammar school. I don't know what happened. We have no money, Mr. Liburd, to go build a new school. We have money the government has. Nobody know how long this war going to start linger, You go take the portion of money now, go start the school. What will happen to us? Suppose God forbid things to come here like planes to fly away because it escalate more than worse than how we think. Yes, so they need to go. I saw past the year. Once or twice now see the school what they have up there by the other school, the high school. May say nothing do it. May say nothing do it. It's a good school. They pay a lot of money to build a school, You hear? And I think the children them happy. Nobody will come out today sick. And it's anything. They revive the other school. The school design so nice. I go in there to play and so what they used to keep like a little drama. And in there so nice and I hear the nice design, the pictures of where they had up. If people go there and bash it, I don't know nobody. This world really is something else. We need to keep the school and do something better to the school and destroy the school. Because the school is important. When you go there, Mr. Patches, look, you come a big minister of government. Other people go there, come something. All in a sudden, because it's 2022 and 2023 coming. The school ain't good no more. The school is good. Oil paint kill any germs. But it does solid oil paint kill any germs about the school. So I don't know. We don't need to spend the money there. We have no money.
Okay.
Okay. You better watch your system when we go in and Russian and make joke, Oh, we don't even know if things don't come in soon. The boat are playing, we'll come with food and all them deal. My holding money, my Mr. Prime Minister, mine. People in the boat school, nothing do them, then I'm going to wait. You have a good night.
Have a good night. Sounded for a moment like the former Prime Minister. Nothing is wrong with the school. Yes, they seem to have very short memory because the students, the teachers, they all suffered at the school. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line.
Graduates. Good night.
Good night. Seem to have lost their caller. Sounded like my brother Bumpy, James Davis. You need to top up. Make sure you have some energy on that phone, some money on that phone, and call us back. Let's go back to the lines. Call it line.
Good evening, Honorable Patrice Liburd.
Good evening.
Let me turn off the radio, just a second.
Yes, certainly. Yeah. These are callers like yourself. We'd like to hear. Are you there?
Yes, I am back. Yes.
Thanks a lot.
I called to speak to the issue of the Bastia High School and the water problem. I had called in to the program before on the issue of the Bastia High School. And what I said is worth repeating. My concern is that the proper supply of good drinking water should be a priority for the new Bastia High School. And the source should not be the Bastia Aquifer. No wells in Bastia from which water is taken to supply the needs of the people of Bastia is good drinking water. I can tell you that for sure. Now, you have a situation where it is the Bastia High School, of course, yes. And you don't want to go outside of Bastia to build a school. But neither should the water be sourced from the sea by desalinating the seawater. So I suggest, and I did suggest then, that just as the sugar factory did not source its water from the Bastia Aquifer, nor desalinate seawater to the sugar factory to do the business of sugar making, they were able to join with the sugar estates where there is the source for the best drinking water and pipe that water straight to the sugar factory. Now the sugar factory is not functioning anymore. Why can't some people put some leads from the pipe that was going definitely to the sugar factory down to the area where they're going to be building the Bastia High School? Because it is not just a small pipe, you know. It's a big pipe. And I'll tell you this, when I was working as an estate manager upon Nevis, I had relatives who never drank water from where they live. They used to take the containers up to the sugar factory and use the sugar factory water. No, I don't like to rehash things, but there was a man who came here to do a film show, and he went to the Blakeney's Hotel when it was functioning, and he took sick. And he was told it is the water that caused it. So he went back to the States and did what he had to do to restore himself. And when he came back, you know where he went? In West Farm Mountain, a place they call the Hole. And as estate manager around that area, I had to help with his workers from the estates that I was managing. And when I go up there, his people were dipping their containers into the deep holes that had water, nice water flowing, and take it to the huts that they made for them to live in, and they were happy. I live in the country, and I am proud of the source of water that come to my home. And I don't want to drink bottled water, you know. I drink the water that is coming from the mountain, because I used to go to the mountain with the workers who worked at the source and give them some advice as to what I expect of them to do. That source water that we have at Dudon Pond and Wingfield Mountain and Green Hill Mountain, once we can trap that and bring it down to the Bastia High School, it will be the ideal thing for that school. Let's take the government house and the hospital in Bastia. You go to the hospital and open the pipe, and you would be amazed to see the water that flows from that pipe. It is coming straight from Wingfield Mountain, not from any well or anything around there.
Can I interrupt you, Mr. Belch?
Hello?
Can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yes, sure.
One of the things you have omitted in your very, very eloquent presentation, though, is that in Bastia alone, it is a requirement for over 2.5 million gallons of water per day. And that can come from the sources you have just alluded to. Have you thought about that?
Well, yes, I think about that, yes. But you see, but the people are not advised That is how I advise my family. You use the Bastille water to wash your clothes with and to clean the house. But when it comes to you drinking the water, you cannot drink it. Straight off. It is not healthy. And you could take that down to the school, and when the children come out to wash their face and drink some water, they get sick. You have to look at that. It is true that the sugar, that the water that they interfere with is not healthy for them. And don't tell me you're going to the city to desalinate the seawater to purify it. No, it can't be purified for people to drink. You could do it for people to clean their house and wash their clothes and what have you. But now when it comes to cook and so on with that, no way. I remember once I was in town and I went by the market, and there's a pipe just on the outside. And some young fellows went in the market, bought stuff, and then when they came out, they washed, and they ran under the pipe and started drinking water. Hey, they went up by the mechanic shop not too far away, and then they started to go on as if to say that something is wrong with them, having just taken the water that was there at the pipe on the side of the road. I'm telling you that the aquifer water is not healthy. And that is what caused the Bastille High School to fall into the problem it fell into. And we can't run away from that fact. If it was that the water was good for the school children to drink, because it's what most of the time they would do, just go to the pipe and drink it, then you know that is not good enough for them. So you can't do the same thing down at the new site where they're building the Bastille High School. It certainly is not proper for them to do it that way and use the water from the aquifer. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, as usual, Mr. Welch, for your interventions in relation to the proper supply of drinking water. For those who have just joined me, we raised some issues as it relates to the resolutions at the UN General Resolution, I should say, at the UN General Assembly. We also raised a substantive issue as it relates to the construction or lack thereof of the Bastille High School. Our very first caller made a very salient point as it relates to the construction period, and intimated, and rightly so, that that school would take about 2 years or more to construct. So you see what's happening. She raised the issue of the East Park Range facility, the old Bastille High School, and suggested that we should not spend all this money in the school, but instead spread it out for the rehabilitation of all the schools, and failing to do so may entice others to want to come to the Bastille High School. But I believe that the Ministry of Education has its own policy as it relates to intake of students, depends on the area from where you come. But the question I ask, what is happening? And as I said, the plans are complete, the EIA is complete, the planning permission was granted, the money has allocated to the appropriate ministry, and as I said, I won't hesitate to say, it pains me as someone who comes to East Bastille, and the majority of students that go to the Bastille High School are from East Bastille, and it pains me that back in 2016 or 2017, but for the interference, as Minister of Public Infrastructure, I would have ensured that the construction of the Bastille High School would have been completed in the first term of the office. I've been asked many questions, and all I've learned about this project lately is the Ministry of Infrastructure, beg your pardon, is now leading the construction of the school, which is what Cabinet decided years ago. So I'm concerned. I asked the question, why was the project manager and former director of public works removed. Can anyone guess? What is happening to the construction of the school? A lot of people are asking me, I've asked privately, but to no avail. So I'm bringing this to the public fore. And I said, don't get mad with me, because we won't bury the issue. Because I have learned that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in a period of moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. That's my story, and I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to go back to the lines. Caller, it's 18 past 9 o'clock. Thank you for holding you alive.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd. After you hear Mr. Welch talk just now, I don't know what you gather from it, but what I gather from it, because they were saying by building the school up there, will contaminate the water for Bastia and so on. But listening to Mr. Welch, who walk all around those areas and saying the water was contaminated a long time ago. So, in other words, he given a green light that the school should have done finished because of the water problem. Because I remember when some people were campaigning, they had big billboard with a little child drinking some dirty water. And in that area, all the way down to Port Zante and so on, and John in Bastia, people have drink the water, they use the water for all the years. So there is nothing I see wrong with the water. But listening to Mr. Welch now, he said that he was given the green light that the school should have done built. Because the other people were talking about the water and how they're going to contaminate, they're going to poison people and all kind of things when the school built. So I don't know what you gather from it, but your thoughts is your thought, this is my thought. You don't have to agree with me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, King of the People's King. I'm a little bit at variance with Professor Welch. I respect him highly, but desalination, desalinated water is water that's used all over the world, and it's proper healthy. In Curacao, for example, for years, donkey years, that's all they use. And if you drink the water from the pipe, you'll never believe it's water that comes from the sea and gets to the homes through the reverse osmosis process. Let's go back to the lines at 21 past 9. Caller, I want to thank you for holding.
Mr. Patches.
So.
What's up?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
Long time I ain't call the program, man.
Oh, my brother. I almost called your name.
What's up?
I am peaceful, my brother. Yourself?
Yes, I'm here listening to Mr. Welch, you know. I don't know where he gets his information from. I think he has it all wrong. Maybe he should read up. He should do some reading on desalination, because that's the way to go. The town and the villages and everybody want to come out of their mom and dad's house to build to live on their own. And because we don't have as much rainfall as we did, let's say in the 70s and the 60s, go back down there, where are we going to get the water from? Now, I don't know what test he did on the water in the aquifer, but did I hear him say that the water up there ain't good to drink? That's what I heard him say?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, how he know that? Did he carry the test? Because I used to work in an institution where we used to test water, and we had ideas and we used to check all the sources on them. So I would like to know where he gets his information from. But desalination is the way to go, because a lot of the Buckley's River, that don't run. Buckley's River used to run all the way down there by the Ferdinand many years ago, another young man.
a lot of those rivers, they don't run. The source going up there by Dr. Stephen Cave, you have to go all the way up before you start to see water. So I don't know where you get this idea from that the water in the aquifer is not good to drink. And then if it's not good to drink, because the days gone by you was getting water from up at the factory, that's long gone. So if we don't have enough water, I guess they'll have to dig more well. But if we don't have enough water, I think that that desalination is a way to go to add to the amount of water that we don't have. We don't have that much water as we did many years ago. So I would like him to tell the public about the water in the aquifer and why he's saying that it's not good to drink. I will listen out for you.
Thank you very much. And just for information, the Bassi Valley Aquifer spans, I think it's a 300 or 400 mile radius or perhaps more, starting from the Alves Mountain in the west to the Canada Hills in the northeast, I think that's the direction, and to the east, Connery Hills in the east. The water comes all the way, percolates on the ground. If you're familiar with the topography of our land, where it comes from the hills, percolates underground, and it settles in a well field, the aquifer well field in the ponds area. The area where the school is to be constructed, we have never ever used water for drinking or cooking or potable water as it's referred to. Never in all my life. The aquifer, the well field is to the east of the Kim Collins Highway. You see all those pump houses as we drive along that road. But last caller made a very, very good point in terms of what is called the rainfall deficit. In other words, we're getting less rainfall today because of climate change. As a matter of fact, I think earlier this year, I started to be corrected last year, I have the figures before me, there was a 50% rainfall deficit. That's why we have to look to the sea. And 2/3 of the Earth's surface is covered with water, seawater, and we ought to use it. Caller, thank you for holding you alive.
Very pleasant evening to you, sir, and to all your listeners. Seemingly, your topic is a specific one. I wasn't really following most of it, so I would like you to guide me in terms of your topic. Or would you be
dealing with the substantive issue of the Bassi High School?
Please repeat. You said repeat, please.
The substantive issue we raise is the Bassi High School and the construction of this facility.
Right. So you're speaking about.
You also raise.
Yeah, you're speaking about the construction of the new Bastia Senior High School, something that has become a bit of something that has become more or less a federal issue, a national issue here on St. Kitts, and it has become very contentious with respect to so many people are of the view that the location chosen is not ideal, it's not quite suitable, based on the fact that, well, based on what has been touted around, people are of the view, lots of people seem to be of the view that the spot is on the aquifer. And seemingly they think that aquifer contains a lot of potable water drinking water and water that can supply probably the entire city of Bastille and further. So I would like to hear from you if you think that the location that has been selected, chosen to build that school, is appropriate, fitting, right?
Yes, it's absolutely appropriate. Yes. Yes.
Okay, what if you were to proceed with the construction of that school on that spot, and not too long after the construction begins, you realize that you are building in a pool or a lake? Wouldn't that be a national embarrassment? Don't you think so?
That won't happen. Make your points,
Right, okay.
and I'll
Okay,
answer your
well,
questions after.
essentially what I'm saying, the point I would like to get across, is that the experts who would have tested and would have surveyed that spot, I am praying, hoping, and wishing that they have chosen an appropriate, ideal, correct, fitting, suitable spot to build a school. And later on, it's not going to be impacted or affected in any significant way to the point where it will become a national embarrassment and it would be regretted. It would become regrettable to the point that a lot of financial resources, time and so forth would have been expended into that, and then you find yourself coming up with a huge loss. So that is my concern where that is concerned. And we have to bear in mind that water is an essential commodity. So if you are more or less treading on dangerous ground or dangerous grounds, I think we have to preserve just about every inch of water that we have available here on St. Kitts, bearing in mind that we do not see any river running anywhere in St. Kitts. We may see some small streams and ravines and what have you. I've heard that in times past you had rivers, but rivers have been tapped from the source in order to produce water to supply all of St. Kitts. Hence the reason why St. Kitts has an outstanding water supply. But I guess people would have liked to see the rivers, the crayfish, and that sort of thing. But nonetheless, that is history now. So you'd have to keep that in the annals of history.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right, my brother. All the best. God bless.
Thank you. And you obviously missed it before, but like I said, the entire Bastille is on an aquifer, because the aquifer, like I said, spans over, I believe, I stand to be corrected, over 500 square miles, starting with from the Always Mountains in the west to the Canada Hills in the northeast and the Connery Hills in the east. Some of the water goes behind the airport into those Connery ponds. That's not potable water, that's brackish water. When it's saturated, the Guts Run, Udgy Gut, College Gut, Westmore Gut, and so on. We're right down on the areas from Always comes all those houses there on the aquifer. And in fact, on Ponds Pasture is an aquifer, but it's not potable water. The potable water, as I said, lies east, or the well field lies east of the Kim Collins Highway. And I was wondering, if you look at the studies, the greatest threat to the aquifer is what is called salt intrusion. And the salt intrusion comes from the sea level rise. Once the sea level rises, the intrusion gets into the aquifer. That's the reason why they had stopped pumping in the aquifer, because of salt intrusion some 10 or 12, not 10 or 12, about 14 years ago, to be exact. Let's go back to the lines. I want to thank you for holding the call on your line.
Yes, Patrice. I'm here again for my second do. Thank you. Patrice, a wonderful lot of people know that when they were building the courthouse, sorry, let me turn on the radio. When they were building the new courthouse, it had water springing up out of the earth for years and months. And you know where that water come from? Up Aloise. And with all these houses and projects going up, those water sources up there, they would not have enough to supply these houses. Big hotels have gone totally to desalination plant. I used to work for a 5-star hotel in St. John as a maintenance man, and that is the water that they used to use in St. John. St. John do not have any waterfall, no mountain, no source, no nothing. Strictly seawater, desalted by the machines. And that is the way to go, and that is the way we will have to go. Because with the climate changing and all of that, like you just said, that the sea rising level, that is the way to go. Because what going to happen? Those wells are drying up, those waterfalls are drying up. Now let me touch the last thing and then I go in. Patches, the government has spent a lot of money to curb these crimes, all these negative crimes. You remember 2011, we had 35 murders in 1 year. 35. And the government, under the leadership of the Honorable Dr. Timothy Harris, the Prime Minister who got the vision, along with the NRA Minister in Nevis, Mr. Mark Brantley. Good night, Mr. Brantley. The Prime Minister had the vision how to deal with this crime, along with his team. And whatever money he has invested to deal with this crime and cut it down, thank God it's coming down slowly. But every day, it should be one crime less. A lot of those guys who are out there doing negative things with their guns, they now are self-entrepreneurs. A lot of them, and they could testify to that. Well, I am saying this, if the government spends so much money to cut down this crime, and they still have people out there decide that they're going to keep the illegal weapon on them, they don't intend to comply with the laws of the land. And I am asking the government, please, I say it more than once, go and do, whether you have to go in parliament or to do it from outside, put an amnesty on these illegal guns. And when you catch them after the amnesty is expired and you catch them with these guns, $50,000, once they catch you with that, fine and confine, 10 years in jail with $50,000. If you don't want to charge them with $50,000, 20 years in jail. Because look what happened down Stonefoot again. He come like every 2 weeks they're getting gun business down there. A young little cocorico, they catch him with a gun, ammunition. Why he got in that way 25 years? Why he holding that? Put out an amnesty. Let it bring in the gun, the man who don't comply and you catch them, bring down the hardest hammer of penalty upon them. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you very much. Let's family, let's go straight back to the lines. Call it live.
Okay, I'm glad I get back in here. Okay, I just wanted to finish up. Now, at the institution where I used to work, every year, once a year, we had to go to all the catchment and take a sample of water, check the water, and depend on what we find, we'll inform the water department, who normally would treat the water. We used to treat all water. All the water that comes to our plant at the time, we used to treat the water. We had to run samples every week. And when we're done, we report, and what we find, we'll make a report to water department if we find anything out of the way. So to come willy-nilly and to say that the water in the aquifer ain't good to drink, I think that you should retract that, because you have never run any test on the water to say that the aqua water is not good to drink. You can't just come willy-nilly and say them kind of things to the public. That's wrong. And I'm telling you that's wrong. What you did 40 years ago is no longer applicable today. The modern techniques and all the rest of it. Remember, we're drinking water here, and all of these water plants here, most of the people who battle their own water here, they're using what is called reverse osmosis. That when reverse osmosis is done with the water, there's hardly anything in it. So, you know, you have to get your facts straight, sir. No disrespect, but you have to get your facts straight before you go and spread those kind of rumors to the public. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for those on social media, I want to say yes, in terms of the listenership on social media, our good ZIZ stopped streaming Facebook on social media, but we are making some changes. This program is being streamed on my own Facebook page. We're doing some digital marketing and get you abreast of all that's happening. There will be some changes. We will tell you in due course. Thanks for understanding at the moment. Caller, thank you for holding your line.
Very pleasant evening to you again, Mr. Liburd. I just want to ask you for 3 minutes. Just indulge me for 3 minutes. I want to make a brief contribution.
I'll give you two. I'll give you two.
You'll give me two. Okay. I will work hard to utilize it too. The issue is the Russia-Ukraine massacre or genocide. The Bible speaks about that in Matthew. It speaks about it in Matthew chapter 24, verse 7. It says that for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. We also have in 2 Timothy chapter 3, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, without natural affection, and truce breakers. The Russians are talking about sitting and having dialogue with the people of Ukraine. But they're surrounding Ukraine. All around Ukraine, they have the tanks and armored vehicles and what have you. Putin is claiming that Ukraine and Russia are one. The Russians speak Russian. The Ukrainians speak Ukrainian. They have their own language. Ukraine is a sovereign state. It is an independent nation. After the breakup of the Soviet Union, the Ukrainians, the Latvians, the Czech Republic, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, all of them, they went on their own. So my thing is, why is madman Putin attacking Ukraine and killing so many innocent civilians? I am saying here that Putin is an international criminal, and he should be brought before the world's international criminal court in The Hague and tried for genocide and atrocities against humanity. That sort of thing is unacceptable and should not be accepted by the rest of the world. Putin is affecting the world's economy. I am a boss man. I drive bus. That is affecting the price of gas at the pumps. That is going to affect the supply of food, all sorts of medical supplies and things that people need. Every part of the world will be affected. The president of the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, they are aware of what Putin is doing. This is nonsense. This is absolute nonsense. That's total rubbish, and he needs to stop that foolishness.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, I am very, 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 very upset about that. That's nonsense.
Okay, let's go back to the lines. I'll call you live.
Good evening, Mr. Liburd. How are you, sir?
I am peaceful, my brother. I haven't heard you for ages.
Well, I was waiting until the spring came around, for you to thaw out, because I understand up there cold, Yeah, anyhow, you made a little mistake tonight. You said it twice. The size of the Basti Aquifer, you said twice, 500 square miles. I think it's 5 square miles you meant. It can't be 500.
Be corrected. Yes, I said that.
Think this is only 68 square miles. Anyhow.
Yeah, 5 square miles.
Right. I knew it was an error. Your mind is a lot of places. You know, you have a lot of things on your mind. The
I was
thing with
testing you too.
The thing with the Bastille Aquifer, though, there were certain places in Bastille where water was once pumped. Let's think about it. On Market Street, opposite Brooks Rum Shop, there used to be a water pump there supplying water in the area. And then later on, there was also, that has been shut down. Another pump was shut down just to the west of, the Moravian Church. Because as residences built up around here, you know, they were content with the soakaways and the septic tanks and soakaways that contaminate the aquifer in those areas. But where the school is going, there are no residences there. Just to the east of it, as you said, is the well field. And as far as I understand from the plans and the environmental impact assessment, is that there will be no septic tank or soakaway on the school. There will be no waste entering the ground in that area. Am I right, Mr. Liburd?
Yes, you're correct.
Right. So as well, the school will not be doing any damage to the environment around there. So it is quite safe to build the school in that area. It's not like the old school where everything went underground. I mean, that was the practice at the time. But the new school, the proposed new school, would have none of that to contaminate any water in that area. So there should be no damage done to anything to contaminate. It will be very unlikely to reach the well field, which is some distance away. And any water that is in that area, any pumps, another use of pumps in the Nevis area and that kind of thing. I don't know if those still work. But they used to use that for agriculture. But even for agriculture...
Irrigation,
yeah. The Bastille High School, the proposed new Bastille High School, will have zero effect on that. Because, as I said, no waste from the students enters the ground. It will all be processed and disposed of in areas way, way, way far from that. In other words, out to sea, I believe. Thank you, sir, and have a pleasant evening.
Thanks for your intervention and for that correction. 500 square miles from the 16 square mile country. Wow. That's what street talk is all about. Each one correct the other. Caller, you're live.
Patches, how are you? Good night. This is Jam down here.
Yes, Jam down. I'm peaceful. You?
Patches, we know what's going on with them with this Bastille High School, you know. A set a man launch out to do what they do to Kennedy Simmons, and they don't work in this country, you know. That school had to build, and the correct place for that school to build is over there. My good friend Atel Wallens, don't tell me, is nowhere over there. That school built, no water could be contaminated. But he had some desperate people feel they could mash up where we got going here, just like where they do to Kennedy Simmons, you know. And a lot of them playing blind to this, you know. And they ain't going to work with them, you know. That is not going to work with me, Mr. Liburd. What they should be telling and trying to educate the people is to stop throwing rubbish and their cover. That is what they should be telling people. But it was good night. I'm going to see you. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Jam down. And thanks for reminding us, because there are about 5 engineers that made presentations at cabinet. We had Atil Rollins, who was an engineer, water services engineering manager, I think, for about 20 years. Cromwell Williams, who is back as water engineering manager. Dr. Harry C. Haley. There was one other person I can't recall at this point. Yes, Denison Paul. Yes, was one. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
you're live, caller.
let me just interject something here. I believe that Marriott use desalination water, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay, I just need to find that out. Hello?
Yes, Park Hyatt as well.
Oh, and Park Hyatt. Okay, that's the one. Okay, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, desalination water is good water. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line. Hello, caller. Are you there, caller? Okay, seems to have missed that call. But just to inform you, this message reads: an aquifer is an underground layer of permeable rock fractures or unconsolidated. An aquifer may be a few feet to several thousand feet thick, or less than a square mile to thousands of square miles. Sandstone, the best aquifer, King Africa, is suitable for drinking. And that's coming from this Facebook Straight Up Family. And yes, in St. Kitts we have what we call sandy loam soil, which is highly permeable. It is what is called sandy loam soil. It's pure. It's not pure. I forgot the term. Let's go back to the line and tell you about that after. Call your line. Yes, caller.
Yes, good evening, Honorable President. I hear you, and I hear about the school. But you have got to do something about the school, which I ain't know what you are going to do with it. And looking at things, right? Some of us say that we work for politicians. And when we look at politicians and passing us shit on the path, then you must say, hello, the next election, and when they come and asking us to vote it. But that is bad because you may know what you could say. It is just fucking up people. But because you might say you want a little thing, I want to say more. So you have got to do something about taking people, hello, good morning, good afternoon, come on, you just suck us up.
Okay, that's my good Labour friend. Something's wrong with your phone tonight. Call your line.
Patel.
Yes.
Patel.
How is the Bible man?
The Bible man is here. The Bible man is here. I got two passages of scripture tonight, and that is what I have to say tonight. Psalm 62. Psalm 62. According to Mr. Patrick. Psalm 62. Yeah. And verse 11 and 12. Here 11, Mr. Patrick. God spoke once, twice. I have heard this, that power belongs unto God. Odds number 12, also unto thee, O Lord, belong mercy. Thou have remembered to every man according to his works. Mr. Patricia, I want to say this, that every man who believes in a God, God have power. God give them power, and God could take it back. Nobody else in the world have more power than God. So when you believe to yourself that you got too much power. Saul will believe this is bigger than other power. You understand? The prophet had all, he broke another, believing got power. And so, the 3 Hebrew boys went to a fiery furnace, and God went in there with them. Daniel was praying to God, and the king, the people then went to the king and tell the king, we find Daniel praying. And they showed Daniel in the lion den. And Daniel, while Daniel was sleeping on the lion, the king got up one morning, went to the den, and believed himself, called out to Daniel. And Daniel tell him, oh, king, live forever. And the same people who throw Daniel in the land, the king command them to throw them same people. They take out Daniel out of the lion den. So I said, I just to tell you, Mr. Patrick, whatever a man sowed in Galatians chapter 6, verse 7, whatsoever a man soweth, that he shall also reap. So the people go ahead. And they believe themselves, and their own best they could do what they like. But one of these days, God is going to bring them into judgment. And that time then they're going to be no liar, no judge, nothing. Mr. Patrick, have a pleasant night and save passage home until we have to say. We can't say next week, Monday. We had to say, if God will, and you live, Mr. Patrick, you will host your show. Nobody got no life in their hand, see? The Bible says, man is just like a waiter, pay for a little time, and vanish away. Thank you, Mr. Patrick. Have a pleasant night.
Have a pleasant night as well. Let's go back to the lines. Call your live.
Mr. Honorable Patrick. Now, let me explain something. You have to be the Bible man a lot of credit. Because he's more better and the ram goat DJ. You understand me? So you have to give him a lot of credit. Now, Patrick, let me explain something to you. St. Croix, St. Thomas, Tortolo, St. John's, all of them run the water by salinated plant. All those islands down there. Antigua, that is salinated plant. Said nothing wrong. Think it's that one, you know. But nobody can find it. You know. I think you were down at somewhere Love Valley or something, but nobody can find it. And they don't know where the money gone. But don't accuse nobody for stealing the money. They misplace it. Good night. You have a nice night. And God bless you, Patrick. God bless my loving Prime Minister. So thank you very much.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. Caller, you're live. Okay. Seem to have lost that caller, but as we wind down tonight's programming, in the event you have just joined us, we looked at the United Nations General Assembly special session, which concluded yesterday. I'll get back to that, but let's take this call. Call you live.
Yes, I'm back again. Let me just log off the radio.
Please, sir. Yes. Yes, Professor Welch.
Yes, Honorable Mr. Liburd.
Yes, sir. I will
The
indulge in
Bastia
the
High
rules of
School was a
brevity then.
school well built. And it had its teachers and students or pupils attending. What was the big problem with that school? It was the water. And it has caused the school to shift, or the pupils to shift from that area to somewhere else. I am not hearing people saying that it was a bad move for the government. Or well, I have heard some of it from some people saying that the government had no right to remove the children from the area because it's a nice area. But the children were outspoken enough to say that they cannot tolerate the area as a school. And so the government could not continue. Now, you can't put a school in an area and have the same problem repeating itself again. I am saying you're not pulling the water up, or you should not be pulling the water up from the ground or from the aquifer at the new Bastia High School. You should bring it from a source that is recommended as a proper source to supply water for the use of the children. Now, if we had a sugar factory using lots of water and the water was not coming from the Bastia area, it wasn't coming from the Bastia aquifer, it was coming all the way from in the country, across the railway line. Some leave off in a reservoir for the sugar, for the hospital and the police and so on. And they're happy with it. They're not thinking about any water from any aquifer. You never hear them complain. Government house, where the governor is, he's not getting any water from any aquifer. So you're going to put it down in the aquifer now and say that nothing will happen to the children if they continue to use the water from the aquifer? I can't believe that we are so silly. Our intelligence is foul. Just as it was foul when the Bastia High School was not functioning, and they were still saying, let us put back our children in the Bastia High School. So those are the same kind of people who's now talking about, well, we can go along with how it is and take the water from whatever source other than the right source. And that is foolishness as far as I am concerned. Going forward, we need to do what we know to be right. Thank you.
Thank you for that clarification as well. Mr. Welch, I think what he's saying is that you should not use water from the area where the school is being built. And that one can understand that because that's what we call brackish water. It's not potable water there. That's what you're saying. Then that brings some clarification. Let's go back to the lines. Call your line. Okay, last that. Are you there, caller? Okay, I'll take one more call, one final call for the night before I wrap. I'll take one final call. If you can get to me in a few seconds, then you will be lucky. If not, I'll take this and make this my final call for the night. Call you live.
Yes, I was going to hold my peace, but when I heard Mr. Welch speaking, it sort of got me a bit annoyed because I don't think he's talking the whole truth. The water from the aquifer could not have fed the sugar factory because the sugar factory system was established many, many years ago, long before the technology of pump water from the aquifer came on stream. Then the other thing is the old Bastia High School water was not from the aquifer. It came from the wells down on the western side of the island. So I don't think Mr. Welch is talking the whole truth at all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That's the way we're going to end it for tonight. my Straight Dog family, because my time is done and I've got to run. I've overlooked my messages and I beg your forgiveness. But this message reads, "Good evening, Your Excellency. I hope you are keeping warm in cold New York. Who is the most popular politician in St. Kitts and Nevis? Is it PM Harris or Premier Brantley? Or could it be Deputy Prime Minister Richards?" That's the email. Perhaps we can look at that some other time. But I got a very interesting comment that I want to share with you before I leave, and it's this.
Prime Minister, just be strong, trust God, and don't be upset with nobody who criticizes you, because that is part of some people's nature. And if it's the nature, leave it with them. A former custom officer the other day make me tell me I'm a hypocrite. I will leave that for now. But I'm simply saying, be strong in God, and because I believe it can happen like Grenada in 1989 or 99. I can't remember the year, but one of them 2 years. Keith Mitchell had a minority government, went to the poll. He come back out with the 15. So it looked like it's going to happen with PLP in St. Kitts. It's going to be all in.
Oh, interesting prediction. My Straight Dog family, that's the way we're going to end it tonight. We raise the issues tonight on the Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Program in St. Kitts Nevis. For those who may not be aware, it is called, I believe, the At-Risk Youth that dealt with. We looked at the success of the program. We looked as well as the success of the forensic labs, and we considered the investments made by Team Unity in peace and security in St. Kitts and Nevis. We also, under observation review, considered the confrontation between a member of cabinet and police. And this was addressed by the Prime Minister, who advised us that it is still a live matter according to the advice of Commissioner of Police Brandy. And the Prime Minister also declared his confidence in the police and leadership in the police, the Commissioner of Police, and the courts in St. Kitts and Nevis. We looked as well at the invasion of Ukraine by the Russian forces, and we considered the vote taken at the United Nations General Assembly in that special session to examine the question brought forward, the resolution from the United Nations Security Council. A total of 141 countries voted in favor of the resolution, including St. Kitts and Nevis. And this affirmed the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of Ukraine. The resolution was co-sponsored as well by over 90 countries, including St. Kitts and Nevis, and over 180 countries made statements. Fortunately, St. Kitts and Nevis was instructed not to do so. My Straight Dog family, the issue of the UN General Assembly and this historic vote, with humility, I had the privilege to cast that vote on behalf of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis in favor of the resolution that reprimanded Russia for invading Ukraine and demanded that it immediately withdrew its military forces. For me, our vote was one that upholds the purposes of the United Nations which include but are not limited to the maintenance of peace and security throughout the world. For me, our vote was also to uphold the principles of the United Nations Charter that are based on the sovereign equality, political independence, and territorial integrity of all its members. The first resolution of its kind passed in a rare emergency session by the UN Council and supported by 141 of the 193 members. I also had the honor and privilege to sign a copy of the UN Charter, which should have been handed by now to the UN UN Secretary General, His Excellency Antonio Guterres. It was an historic vote by the international community denouncing for Russia for choosing confrontation instead of the path of diplomacy. As one member of the UN put it, the UN was not established to send mankind to heaven, but rather to keep mankind from hell. PR, or permanent representative of the USA to the United Nations, Linda Greenfield Thomas, said these, which are quite instructive.
Now, at more than any other point in recent history, the United Nations is being challenged. If the United Nations has any purpose, it is to prevent war. It is to condemn war, to stop war. That is our job here today. It is the job you were sent here to do, not just by your capitals, but by all of humanity.
Yes, all of humanity demands peace and security throughout the world. The other issue we raised tonight is the construction of the Bastille High School. For some time now, I have been trying to establish what is causing the holdup in the construction of the school. Why was the project manager and former director of the Public Works Department removed? Can anyone guess? That's the question I raise. What is happening to the construction of the school? A lot of people are asking me, so I raised the question privately, got no answer, so I'm asking public tonight on behalf of all who continue to ask me that question. Some may get mad with me, but we should not and would not bury the issues here on Straight Talk, because I have learned that the hottest places in hell are reserved for those who, in a period of moral crisis, maintain their neutrality. That's my story tonight, and I'm going to stick with it. Until we connect on Monday, God's spare, have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Be good to all whom you meet. And remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But you, first of all, you've got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And keep moving on. Don't you move your dial, my Straight Talk family, on ZIZ Radio, because the mayor of St. Paul's, Theo Theophilus Clark, is in the house. I want to thank him, the man on the consoles, for being with us tonight. I want to thank Beverly Wilkinson and John James in the back room. Without them, there would be no Straight Talk. But don't forget, without you, the callers, without you, the listeners, there would be no Straight Talk. For those on social media, we're going to get the information to you as soon as possible. Because like I said, ZIZ no longer streams the program on Facebook and or YouTube. we'll get that stream on our own up and running sooner rather than later. Bye-bye. Until we connect again, keep moving on. Keep moving on. My Straight Talk family.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of